Okay. So, welcome everybody. I'm so delighted that Philippe invited myself and my good friend Darlene to share our experiences with redox in animals. And so let me go ahead and share my screen and get the presentation started. Oops. Okay. So are you seeing the slide with the horses on there?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
very well.
So on September 30th, a couple years ago, my horse Aragon had some sort of an infection going on. He had a lump in his nose, which is hard to see on a black horse, where this first picture shows this is the lump here. And his breathing was heavier than normal. I started him on antibiotics, but after they ran out, it wasn't better. And he had a ripe green discharge that was very horrid. I took him to the vet, who took a large biopsy, and they sent it to the lab, and it didn't look good. But he still had his appetite and had an easygoing disposition. I reached out to Beth Wolford, who's in the Redox community, and asked her how much Redox supplement should I give him, praying it would make all the difference, because I really love this horse so much. I had my trainer administer 8 ounces of liquid Redox rectally, so 4 ounces in the morning and 4 ounces in the evening, beginning on October 9th, and also had him spray the liquid up his nasal passage. And he seemed to really like that. He also applied the Renew 28 topically 2 times a day. And by October 20th, you can see right here that the swelling was greatly reduced, though it was not, it wasn't completely gone. His breathing was less noisy and the drainage was clear instead of yellow, and had far less odor. As he went through that process, at one point, it was like he was blowing bubbles out of his, and coughing bubbles just out of his nose and out of his mouth as it transitioned. I had only discovered the Redox 2 months previously, so I was really grateful for the progress and for the Redox community, which made a huge difference in my personal experience to not feel so all alone. Let me get to the next slide here. So I was thrilled on October 22nd, just 2 days later, to get a message, an update on how my horse was doing. And let me show you the slide here, the record.
You ready? You ready? You're funny.
You like that, huh? And then, so that was the first time he'd had that sprayed up his nose, and he really did like it. And this was only 2 days later, or actually, this is the second video on October 22nd, and it was 12 days later.
I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm gonna try to get a video of me, Aragon letting me put this all the way up his nose and spray it right where it needs to go. Okay, so if you notice, here I go. I put it all the way in there. And I do at least 12 squirts. Then we do a little head up thing, so some of it will get back. Oops, I don't know.
So he did his best to get that through. But that was so exciting when he took the horse down to the vet. The vet couldn't believe, because it was in less than 30 days that he had this huge breakthrough. And it saved me a lot of money, because the vet had actually thought that I should take him into a different vet and have a $3,000 procedure done to remove the lump, but that wasn't necessary, thankfully. Whoops. Let me see if I can switch my slide.
I don't know if this is gonna work, but
sorry about that. Hold on. There we go. So now this is a testimony from Beth Wolford. And she had this colt, and it came in one morning. It had this 4-inch long jagged wound, but it was too late to try and stitch it up because it was so tender to touch. The horse didn't want her to put the gel on it, so she just sprayed it with the liquid and had no other treatment. And she took pictures to show the difference after 24 hours, after 5 days, after 10 days, and after 16 days. Just spraying the liquid Redox made this difference for this colt. And here's another one that was shared, day 10 on ASEA, day 25. This is right behind by the horse's jawline. And after 2 months, it was all healed up. So just spraying that liquid makes such a difference. This is a testimonial by Yanni Feliciano. Dr. Walker did do an interview with her as well. But these are the pictures, and this is what I quote. She said, "I want to share an experience I had with my horse. He developed a bump on his cheek like a mole that started to grow rapidly. I called my vet and asked her if she could remove it. She said no, that it appeared to be an aggressive condition that would require him to go to the hospital and have it removed in a sterile environment, biopsy it, and make sure they got clear margin, do chemical beads, and they would most likely do laser surgery for the roots and tentacles that were characteristic of this mass. She would get back to me on when to schedule it. I asked her if she could inject the molecules into the mass, and she said absolutely not, as that could make it angry. Basically, she said, do not disturb it. I asked if I could put Renew 28 gel on it, and she said, okay. I started putting gel on it as much as possible whenever I was at the barn, and I asked my friend and owner of the barn to do the same. I had high hopes because I had heard of other people's masses drying up and falling off. After a couple months, the mass appeared to be drying out, and when I showed up one day, it was hanging half off. I think my horse scratched it. I called the vet immediately because I remembered her saying you can't disturb it, and she wanted to biopsy it. So she came out the next morning before it fell off completely. She clipped it off and would biopsy it. I continued putting gel on. It took several weeks to get biopsy results, and it confirmed he had what she thought, and she called me 6 weeks from the date she came out later to schedule the surgery. So I asked her if he still had to have this surgery, if the mass was gone and all the hair had grown back and healed completely. And she said it couldn't have healed completely, and asked for me to send her a picture, which I did. She came out again because she couldn't believe it. She brought another vet with her, and they looked at it, took pictures, and said he didn't need the surgery to keep doing what I was doing. She was shocked and couldn't believe it. She said it would not have looked this good with her treatment. The horse's hair grows back white over scar tissue, if it even grows back at all. I saved 10K and not having to do their recommended treatment. So grateful for these molecules. So that's a huge testimonial there. And I had one more, but I don't know what I did with the picture. So no, I didn't. I just want to introduce you now to my good friend, Darlene Dozier, and have her share some of her experiences with Redox in animals. Darlene is a registered nurse and has her bachelor's of science in exercise physiology. And she started her career in healthcare and moved to the fitness and wellness field over 30 years ago as a fitness instructor and coach. She owns and operates a farm and ranch with her husband where they raise beef, horses, and an array of pets that include dogs, chickens, and cats. Darlene competed in the AQHA showing over 20 years and then competed in barrel racing at the pro level. So take it over, Darlene.
Thank you very much, Gloria. I'm going to have you go to the next slide, please, and we'll open up with, well, there's another picture of our group on our farm. As you can see, we have an array. So this first story I'm going to tell you is about Leia. She was approximately 18 years old and had contracted a severe respiratory situation that required veterinarian care. They gave her as many treatments as they could and finally said, you know, we just can't do anything for her. She was very distressed at the time. And so I took her home and treated her myself, was able to save her life and had to hand feed her for a couple weeks. And that's what the picture you're seeing now. After we got her, saved her, she was left with some residual something up in her nasal cavity. You could literally hear this kitty breathing across the room. It was so distressed. So I called Gloria and I said, hey, I've got this situation. And she had sent me over the information on the molecules, and I jumped in wholeheartedly, got her started. And if you want to go to the next slide, Gloria.
Okay. You want me to play with you?
This is Leia today, and I gave her molecules by mouth 0.5 mils, and I also rubbed the Renew 28 on her entire face. 2 weeks later, she discharged copious amounts of a very thick, hard substance that was up in her nasal area, which therefore allowed her to once again breathe. And she's about, I want to say Leia's about 21 now, and doing very well. And I still just rub the Redox 28 on her face. I don't give her any more by mouth, but I do. I've got the ASEA in a mist, and so I mist her every day too, and that seems to be helpful for her, and she's doing very well. Okay, my next, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can hear her crying.
Yeah, that's Leia. She's a sweetheart.
There we go.
And my next story is about he's Tebow. He's a Malamute Husky. And as he progressed in his age, I think when he started having hip dysplasia and problems with his back, he was around 12. And so I thought, okay, here we go again. I didn't take him to the vet. I said, here we go with the molecules again. And so I gave Tebow his ASEA Redox by mouth, and I gave him about 2 cc's a day. So I did it morning and night, and that's all I did. And then I would also spray the mist along his spine 2 to 3 times a day as well. So I'm going to let Gloria share the video of his progression. You'll see those are in week intervals, each stage that we went through, week 1 to week 4. Perfect. So Tebow got another, Tebow got another 2 years out of life before finally it was time for him to not be with us anymore, but it made a huge difference in him, and I didn't again have those vet bills. Although I really don't think there was much they could do for him, but ASEA did a lot for him. This next one is a horse, and he was quite old. He passed away at 34. He had developed these sarcoids underneath his stomach flank area. And on the left, you'll see the picture before I started spraying them, and I just sprayed the liquid on them, and then they started turning white and then eventually fell off. So those were very helpful with the sarcoids. Next slide. This was a really interesting case. This again was in one of my older geldings, and this just happened last winter, and it's called fecal water syndrome, whereas they have normal bowel movements, but within that it's each time it's full of liquid. And what happens with that is it gets all over their backside, their hocks, and it's very burning on their skin. It's not uncomfortable to them per se, but it's a little distressing on my end. So I actually started giving him rectally 4 to 8 ounces of ASEA a day, and that took 2 months, and there was a progression. I saw he progressively started getting better, probably 3 weeks in, and then was completely cleared up by 2 months, and cleared it up completely. I did look into some alternative treatments because I was like, this is just a really bad case, very expensive treatments. And so I was like, here we go again with the molecules, and great results. Next slide is, that's just a little information on the fecal water syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And there, I'd use the big syringe and the bottle of ASEA. Oh, this is from Beth Woodford again. And these were warts that this horse had developed all over its muzzle. And I believe I think it was a week, wasn't it, Gloria, on this one? And she sprayed it 2 to 3 times a day. And if you go to the next, if you look on the right, you can see the progression, and it cleared them up completely, much like the previous slides that Gloria showed of Beth's wounds that she healed.
It was about 2 weeks to clear up.
Yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing. Okay, so I get a lot of abscesses on my ranch, and we go to the vet, or I've been soaking them before, and then I'd wrap them like you see in this picture. And so this last year, I was like, as the abscesses started coming out, it seems to be a seasonal change with some of the horses. I just took my mist spray bottle, and I started spraying the whole leg and the hoof, and never did anything else. And these horses went from not being able to hardly walk to, in 2 days, they're back on it and cleared up in a week. And all I did was just spray it on the whole leg and the foot. That was it. Such a cost saver. I mean, that was huge. I had like 3 or 4 horses with abscesses this year. Love that stuff. Okay. Is there another slide, Gloria? Oh, this is just my husband. He suffered severe burns in a fire accident, and I just wanted to show you. I think that was that wasn't right after, but pretty close after. If you go to the next slide, Gloria. I think this was we did ASEA and Renew 2 weeks later, ASEA and Renew 28, and look at that. It's amazing.
So that's our presentation, and we just love to be able to take any questions that people might have.
First of all, let me congratulate you for the quality of your presentation. It is really magnificent, and it shows that yes, we belong to the animal range. We are the top of it, no doubt. But everything we say about human, like anti-aging, recovery of all kinds. You illustrated it very well. Thank you, Darlene, for sharing your personal pictures as well. It touches us very much, and Gloria the same. And for example, Lady, your cat, that beautiful green-eyed lady, when you say the last pictures of her was 21-year-old, I couldn't believe it when seeing her hair, her fur, which was like a teenager cat, right? I mean, 21-year-old cat with a teen coat, a way to speak. That is so surprising and amazing.
Yes, I have to brag one. Oh, yes, I have to brag one more thing on Thibaut's mate that you saw in the video. Is Moose. He's a Saint Bernard, and he turns 17 this next year, and he takes a SIA daily.
You multiply 17 by 7, and that is the scale of reference between human age and dog's age. 7 times 7 is 49, and this is amazing for an animal. Yeah. Well done. Okay, I give the floor to anyone in our team to come out and share and ask questions, please. Everyone is speechless. There is no doubt. You got the point. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's really amazing. Yeah.
Yes. I thank you very much also.
You're welcome.
Any question? I would like to prompt anyone to have a question, because there's so many questions about that, but I don't want to overwhelm.
But each time that I see those pictures of a human or an animal that can repair the outside body, in my mind, I have the picture that it does the exact same thing inside also, but we can't see it with our eyes. But it does exactly the same thing inside,
Absolutely. When you see Thibaut's gait at the beginning and at the end of the presentation, I mean, this is night and day. Mm-hmm. He was even moving his body sideways, playing with the other dog. The last sequence, he was,
yes,
I mean, exactly. When before he was like a walking statue, a way to speak.
Yeah.
And
amazing.
with his rear back lowered out of this displeasure and pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Darlene,
is great.
She does a great job with the documentation and putting together a video that's very, not just entertaining, but heartwarming, because you can see the huge difference it makes.
Yeah.
So I have a comment. Ching, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just ask one question. If the animal hair can be bothered by gel or doesn't matter? The hair.
She means does the hair length is a problem to apply gel? I think that's what you want to ask, Ching.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I wondered the same thing, especially like the huskies and some of your kitties have a deep, a lot of hair. And I think it's just really important when you're applying the Renew to just massage it in thoroughly. As for the spray, I've been running tests on that, and I think it's quite interesting because on the abscesses on the horse's leg, that wasn't rubbed in. I feel like the hair follicles actually pull that in to their skin, if you will.
Wow.
Okay.
I wondered the same thing, but I'm finding that I'm getting good results no matter what.
I have another question about animal. How much to give them? Because we know we take 4 ounces, 2 ounces morning, 2 ounces evening. But how to measure for the dog, cat, and horse? They are with their weight, or what is your experience? How much to give them?
Well, my experience, I'll speak and then turn it to you, Darlene. With my horse, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm probably going to have to give him a gallon a day or something. But with Beth, she says, no, it's not so much the size of the animal. It's based on the age and what is the condition that they're needing support around. And so it's based on that. And so, and then again, just like with humans, you begin with what you would consider a maintenance dose. And if you're not seeing the results that you would like to, then you would want to go ahead and start to increase it.
So what would be the starting point to begin with? Let's say with a horse, which is a pretty large animal.
It's true. I have all sizes of horses, but with Aragon, he's a large horse. He's a Percheron quarter horse. And she said to start him on 8 ounces a day. And so you would use a big syringe that would hold 4 ounces and give it to him rectally, because they're not able to hold it in their mouth like a human could. And that way you wouldn't waste it. The soft tissue will then absorb it and the molecules go instantly where they're needed. But then also misting or spraying up into the area so it goes topically on that in the soft tissue of the nose. And again, as you saw, he did his best to kind of hold the horse's head up so that it would go back in there. And so that, and then we put the Renew on the nose as well and would massage that in. And that, so there's every avenue that you can to get it in there. And Darlene, what are you finding?
Well, I wanted to make one comment that I did not talk about in my slides, and that is colic. So I every year I have colic cases, and deciding how much of that you're going to give them. In those emergency situations, I start with no less than 4, and I just, I might wait 5-10 minutes. If I don't see results, I'm going to just keep adding it until I see a clearing of symptoms. Same thing, you just can't overdo the molecule. So I'm always one that gets pretty aggressive in emergency situations to clear it. So while we, the people, want to know measurements and things, just remember you can't overdo the molecules. So as a starting point, you just, okay, I'm at least going to start with 2 ounces on my dog with the different health conditions that they bring forward. And if you don't see results, you just keep increasing, just because every animal, every human has different needs. And we don't see what's going on inside. So those molecules are doing their work once they enter, but they might be going to places that we weren't aware of, so that you just have to keep layering them until you see a clearing or a change or a result.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Excellent. I would like to add up something in terms of my experience with bipedic animals. I'm talking about human beings. This is part of my scope of service on this planet. And I have noticed that when you spread, like painting a wall with a nice paint, that you don't need to go again, adding another layer. I recommend that because you will, if you massage, there's nothing wrong in the intent and what happens, but you are going to get more redox molecules in your own hand than the subject you want to serve with them. So keep that in mind. Just a layer in a sense of the hair, not against the hairline, hair direction, but in a sense, and it will penetrate via the hair, and it will go down to the skin as well. So just one layer is enough to be absorbed, versus patting again a little bit to make sure, between quotes, we want to get this getting in, which is basically knowing the dynamics and the phenomenon of these redox molecules dissemination, which is extremely fast and self-started. We don't need to massage, or you will remove some of the amount you want to give. You will get it into yourself in your own hands. Yeah. So just a little touch on that. And my other comment, this is a generic generic observation. I recommend in facing any pathology, any type of pathology, whether, created by virus, bacteria of all kinds, or mycoplasma, etc. But even if we are not sure of the actual cause of dissemination, to wear gloves when you take care of an animal. I was surprised that your trainer, Gloria, did obviously love your horse to death. There's no question about that. But he took extraordinary chances for himself with when he was spraying into the nostrils of your horse. He was basically, his fingers were into the nostrils. And we know the risk of contaminations, and you never know. We don't know. It could be a comorbidity, beside that. We don't have any idea, and it could turn into an accident potentially. So just to bring some, it's an observation I share gladly with you, but keep that in mind, because animals are carriers, healthy carriers of a bunch of things. They are protected against themselves, except when the pathology begins to pick up. But we humans don't have the immune arsenal animals have, and we have to be careful.
Yeah. I will say that the one thing
I
that
wanted to share that.
Thank you. And the one thing I'll say that my trainer did catch from Aragon was he caught the fever for Redox, and he uses it himself all the time, and he'll use it with his other horses. Because he notices a difference in himself, and I'm sure he did absorb some of those molecules.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, this is outstanding. Your presentation is outstanding. And I don't have the words to explain my gratitude to you both about this. Sandra, would you like to say something?
Yes, and I don't know how to put the little hand up. I don't even know where it is. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I have to thank Gloria. Somewhere this summer, I saw a presentation you did. I had a semi-feral cat that was hemorrhaging terribly from his urine. And I really didn't, and he's big, and I didn't know, how do I get anything anywhere? And you said it's okay to give them a little bit in a bowl to drink with a little dab of food.
Mhm.
After 3 days of him doing that, it cleared up completely, and it hasn't come back. And I just thought, okay, so there's another life saved. So thank you, because I have some feral cats that I can't really spritz them or give them the syringe. And I just look at them perplexed, like, now how do I get it onto you or into you? And I don't want to take them to the veterinarian. It's expensive. My vet moved. It's a big trip now. So I thank you. And I do rescue. So I have a house full, and they're all special needs. So, oh my God, this saved all of them. They're all seniors. I've been worried I'd have to put them to sleep because they're just getting up in age. And I'm like, how much medication can I afford? And it's stressful to put them in a carrier now. They practically stroke out. They can't stand it. So, running around with a syringe and a spritzer and a little bowl with some food in it, and I get everybody done. And I have a cat with split palate that has had for 11 years a continuous sinus infection, because there's really nothing we can do. And she's a miracle. She's alive, so we don't mess with her. She taught herself to drink from the faucet so she could get water down her throat and not up her nose. Like, animals are miraculous. So I finally said, you know what? Let's just put the gel. And I love your presentation, Darlene, with Leah, because I put it now on her nose. And she, for the first time in her life, her face is completely clear. Her nose is clear. All discharge is gone. She's over 11 years old. And she's a character. And I just thought, I don't want to put her to sleep yet. She's such a personality. She thinks she is my mother. And I lost my mom. So I'm grateful to have a cat who thinks she's my mother. She scolds me if I don't cater to her needs or that I'm doing something that she does not approve of. I have another cat with liver shunts who isn't supposed to be here. The vet got blown away this August when I brought him over there, and he looks in better shape than even a healthy cat. She said, I was expecting a half-dead cat. He's over 8 years old. He's not supposed to even live this long. And I'm like, uh-huh. And I went into my my ASEA spritz. I practically did a dance in the office. I was so excited.
Yeah.
And I said, I put him on this and I do this, and this is what I've been doing. And ever since I've been doing this, and now I don't have to give him these pills all that. And they're looking at me, what do you mean you don't have to give him his pills anymore? He can't live without those pills. Oh, yeah, he can now. And I said, I'm cutting them down if I can to like every 2 or 3 days, because again, they moved, and getting out there, it's like going to a whole nother burrow for me. It's so painful. It was my favorite trip to take the dogs for a walk to the vet because they were so close. And now they've moved so far away, it's like double the price if I have to take a cab to go there. So ASEA is saving my sanity financially, and all my cats are so stupid healthy now. They're so arrogant. It's unbelievable, because they were special needs animals and they were very sort of vulnerable, and thank you for saving us. And now they're like normal animals and very, bossy. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy. And all their fur has grown in. Darlene, the coat on Leah is extraordinary. And their fur is they're gaining weight, and their fur is filling. And I grew back eyebrows, which was a very big deal this year.
Wow.
So
yay.
I can't believe this. I just, every day is another little miracle. My dog is still alive. He had a tumor the size of a grape covering his eye. 10 hours after a few ml of ASEA, it burst on its own after being there for 2 years. We didn't know what to do with it. It's embedded in the lid, so he needed plastic surgery. They can't take it off. And it burst on its own. It drained for a few weeks. We treated that just normally and with some Renew. And then it all just dried up, and it's not doing anything. So he's fine. And he looks at me every day with this, look at me. I'm cute again. You can look at my face now. I can't believe all of this. And he's 12. And thank you for the video on the hip dysplasia, because I didn't know quite what to do. He's just starting to get it. And now I know I can spray it, and even try putting something on his spine in the back and on the leg, maybe even itself, to stop that. Because I was thinking, do I need to get him glucosamine? Does he need vitamins? And no, we have molecules.
Yeah, we have molecules. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That's really
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Your devotion to the animals is so super, super duper.
This is remarkable. Yeah. And I want to mention that Thibaut, you could see his fur getting so much better as well as he was progressing with the gait. I mean, he turned back into the beautiful kiddo he was, this type of thing. And so any animal. Yes. So this is very.
Robert has a question. Robert, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I had a question. My question was that I know for humans, they have to keep up that treatment once they've started. Is that true also with the animals? After you took care of their health issue, did you stop giving them that, or did you continue to give them the ASEA?
Excellent question.
Yeah, well, with Aragon, I continued it for a time, and then weaned him back off, and he's been able to be fine since. I do have a little dog. I don't have pictures of her, but I have her right here with me. This is Polly, and she's 7 years old. But when she was 3, the discs in her back started to deteriorate. And at that time, I didn't know about the molecules. And we did take her in, and it was a very expensive surgery she had. And they fixed 3 spots, but they said she had a long spine, and that we should anticipate that that would be a problem going forward. So fast forward a couple of years, and I found out about the molecules, and all of a sudden she started limping around on her front right leg. And I thought, oh no, that's probably the spine having trouble again. And so I said, well, we've learned about these molecules, so I'm going to see if she'll drink it. And my husband scoffed and said, she's not going to drink that stuff. But again, I'd reached out to, I can't think of her name. All of a sudden it went out of my mind. The horse lady. And she had said, well, if you put it in a dish, a glass dish, don't put it in any metal, then you just let him lap it out of there as a dog. And so I did. I put about an ounce in a glass dish and I put it down on the floor, and she went over and she just lapped it right up. And so I started giving her an ounce a day. And within 2 days, she started running around like a puppy. So she gets an ounce a day because it's preventative. And if I saw her having any kind of symptoms, I would increase it. But now she's 7 and she's not had any recurring problems with that. Darlene,
sorry, go ahead. My apologies.
I was going to ask Darlene.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing with my Saint Bernard that's 16 because he has some arthritis. So yeah, it's every day to help with those situations. And same I do with Leia, just because I'm not as probably good as I should be, but I at least I get her a couple, 3 times a week, but she's pretty much maintaining herself and doing fine. As with the horses that I showed you, that was just a moment in time, and I don't give them any maintenance dosages.
I want to say that I had a cat that I almost lost 3 times this summer. I mean, his kidneys completely failed. If there had not been a SIA, I would have had to bring him. He might have even died here because he went almost unconscious a couple of times. I think he did go unconscious the first time, and I didn't know what to do, and I was just praying. And it seems to happen on the weekend when the veterinarians are closed around here. So I thought, what am I supposed to do for 2 days? I said, please, what can I possibly do? I couldn't think of could it really work if I just gave him a couple of syringes every couple of hours of a C and see what happens? After one, he was sitting up. He became conscious. And I gave him another syringe a couple hours later. I just kept doing it like what you said. You just keep doing it until you get the result. And then he was able to drink water. And then this was by bedtime. And I put him in the kennel. I always put them in the kennel so I could monitor them. It's hospice in my house, so they don't hide. They'll go under a sofa and hide and die because they don't want you to know, or they don't want treatment. So he's outside the bedroom door in his kennel, and as in the middle of the night, I heard this long sound. He had a urinary blockage, and he was like a balloon. And yeah, and lucky I had all the paper put at the bottom and everything. But that wonderful sound, I'm like, oh, and in Chinese medicine, 3 o'clock is towards the end of the day is when you get bladder. So I said, this is the right time. The cycle's working. He's passing it on his own. And he was hungry and up on his paws and wanted food because he hadn't eaten for over 2 days. And I was so thrilled. And I said, well, if you can eat your breakfast, I'll let you out of there. And he ate and he was fine. And this happened 3 times. So he gets it every day. And some of them now, because they're so old and their conditions are coming back, I'm giving it every day. It depends on what it is. If it's a topical little thing and it goes away, you can stop. But if it's age and it's organic and they're going to keep having these issues, they get it. Mommy takes hers, and then I go around with the syringe.
So in your experience, twice a day is a good fit, morning and evening, or 3 times at most? What would be the maximum you would advise for critical care in critical conditions?
Well,
like emergency conditions?
I have a friend that she had a horse that was having a lot of severe issues, and she would give hers a syringe every hour until she was see the difference. So just like Darlene says, you want to really be monitoring closely, and it was around the clock kind of care, and you want to make sure you have people there, just like you would a human. You know, you want to be able to just administer it so that the molecules are always present.
Exactly, yeah. And you just a reminder, study shows that redox molecules, ACR redox molecules, will last up to 3 hours in a body, 2 to 3 hours, depending on the economics of the body, while the natural one, which are naturally fabricated in our healthy cells, are the lifespan is only a few nanoseconds. So that supplementation capability is actually loading, long-lasting, comparing to the natural lifespan, which is a few nanoseconds, which is 1/100th of a second, right? So it's like a fireworks that is just lightning-like in terms of duration. And while the supplements, those redox molecules are going to disseminate and dwell up to 2 to 3 hours, depending on the economics of the body. And it's interesting because when we get wiser, not to say older, we tend to to develop in different areas of our body different issues that becomes at the end overwhelm the body overall. And this is how we basically end our lifespan, all as we are. So it's interesting to understand those little parameters so we can play around, you know, this type of thing. But I understand the hour by hour watch on this. Yeah, totally. Well, this is amazing. You see, I would like to share as well. I prepared a little tale for you, so I will share my screen. Thank you, Gloria. You can you gave the screen back. Thank you. And it's only for a couple of minutes to share a tale that Ching and I, for those who don't know us, Ching and I, we are spouses. She's my wife. And so I would like to share this screen here. Here we go. And this is what I would like to share with you. Here we go. And this is a little adventure we shared, Ching, and that was very early in our time with ASEA. And we were discovering, wonder after wonders on this, about this. So let's hide this. Okay. Here we go. So this is a little tale. That's what we want to share with you. A waxwing tail. For those who don't know what is a waxwings, it is a migratory canary-sized bird in North America. So they fly hundreds of miles west. It's essentially on the west side, but they are found everywhere. And they are part of these migratory birds that as they encounter different challenges, including flying through transparent glass materials. So they don't see the windows, they don't see the glass walls, which are usually bordering some types of patio, outside patio in the family houses, this type of thing. And they will heat themselves, heating share, glasses on cars, driving by, etc. They just don't see what they see reflection of themselves. They will think this is the animal behaviorist interpretation. When they are close to the windows or they see themselves flying on the windows, they think it is another fellow of them, and they will try to fly near them because they are very, very community oriented. They are those birds who fly and make large figures with sometimes dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of individuals in a given flight. So you see on the left here, this is a couple. They are loyal to death in terms of loyalty, conjugal loyalty. This is a lady, and that is the male. who didn't survive the shock against the wall glass, the glass wall we have on our patio. You see the pot where we have outside the plants as well. And that bird hit not the pot, but the glass, which is right beside it. And the lady here was hit as well. We saw it, I saw it, but she was flying slower, so she coped much better. He was killed on the spot. She was not, and she recovered by herself. She stayed 2 days, night and days, near him, because we didn't want to interfere with the laws of nature. And at some point, she left him, and then we disposed of him. But to let you know that this is really a lesson of loyalty here. This is another bird, which is they love those little pine fruits, you know, on spruces and evergreen trees, and smaller than those waxwings, and didn't survive the shock. Yeah. And they make a hell of noise when they hit any glass. You hear it, you know there's something happening. So it is all about a concussion. To make a long story short, I want to give you a lecture on concussion here, but a concussion is a result of a brutal stop as one moves, and that stop is created by a hard surface. So in the case of soft surface, it is not a concussion as we describe it, but a concussion is you just go fast and hit a wall, and that is the definition of a concussion. So this is the story of this young lady here. After that on the right, she was like that. She was frozen. She was in a state of shock and basically barely breathing. She wouldn't move the back. Everything was stuck and like frozen. The eyes were closed. And when I heard the bang, she was chased by a falcon. So she was on high speed. She was lower than the size of our wall glass, and she hit it full speed. The falcon nearly hit the glass wall as well, but you know, broke upward and was okay. And he began to whirl around and descend to actually try to deal with her as a prey. Fortunately, we were there. I went out immediately, and I saw that little lady totally like statified. And a little while later, she began to open the eyes, but she wouldn't move. She was frozen. She began to move a little bit. You know, here you are, one leg is in the split between the floor here, and here she put herself on more things. So that was the beginning. And that is phase 2. So let's go for the video. I want you to read Asia, right? So Ching was with me, so I was talking to her, not to the bird.
Okay.
Did you see Asia?
Mm-hmm.
So she begins to be mobile now. The eyes are moving faster. And
the falcon is flying around. He keeps an eye on her.
So she was still
we have to stay here, otherwise the falcon is going to go back and kill her. Guaranteed.
Okay, now she's beginning to breathe. She was not breathing. She was barely holding, and that is normal. And you see the swelling around the eyes is already much less than it was in the first picture I showed you. The eye was actually hidden by the swelling of the orbital tissues. So now she's breathing. So oxygen gets in. She stays in a state of shock, initial shock, for about 2 minutes. It was not very long. And then we went right away with the Asia. You see, she's beginning to move her body. she doesn't move the wings yet, but
She's beginning to
is
inside.
meandering with her body and breathing, and she closed her eyes at times. She's still in a bad shape, but she's interactive a little bit. What you see over the eye is a feather that is undone from her head and still hanging around the eyelid. Okay, so now it gives you an idea. This phase lasted about, I would say, 5 minutes, not that long. And here is.
Did you see that, the way she stands?
That was a couple of minutes after the end of the previous video. So she recovered very fast. And now you see, she's trying. You see, she doesn't see. There's a glass. You can see the glass, but she doesn't seem to see the glass. And she was still struggling against that glass to get away from us. Voila. This is what I wanted to share with you. It gives another complementary tale to your beautiful tales. But, you know, and so birds, mammals, we have heard of stories with reptiles and fish as well. So it is interesting. We didn't experience that at all. But so the whole, anything that is alive responds to these fantastic redox molecules. It is a life law. It is a principle in terms of sustaining life and optimizing our capabilities, not only to survive, but to operate at our best. So it is a very spectacular tale with a capital T. Yeah. Any question about this?
That's beautiful, Dr. Philippe. That's precious.
Yeah. We were not prepared for that at all. This is why, you know, there is no, those shots have been taken randomly, not randomly, but one after the other. But the whole story of recovery lasted about less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. We don't know what would have happened without doing anything. She could have had a bleed somewhere. You never know. We don't know. We cannot assume anything, but she was just out of it. And then within less than 10 minutes, she was flying away. Yeah.
Right. I've heard other people talk about, and I really want to encourage everybody. You saw that little spray bottle that Dr. Philippe had. Take one with you wherever you go. I have a little black bag that I keep in my bag, and I have a little bit of everything of the products with me because I never know who I might meet, who might have a need. And so it's a great little emergency kit to have with you wherever you go.
For everyone, including animals.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Philippe, for having us. It was really.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you both. Thank you, Darlene, to share your side of your experiences as well. They are very spectacular. Gloria, I want to know your horse closer. Seems to be a wonderful. Yeah. Okay. And do you have any further questions? I would be happy to answer, or any of us could bring to you as well. Information, practical. Yesterday, I was in an event. I was one of the co-organizers and contributors, and one of my fellow cut himself. They were cutting meat, and they slid, and he just poked his index. I came, he was there, that happens, it was 3 p.m. I arrived at 4:30 p.m. He tried to press the finger to stop the bleeding. He seems not to be able to stop anything, and he didn't want to go to the hospital because we had an upcoming event we were preparing for the company, and he didn't feel. He said, "No, I'm staying." And he was drooling, and he was just piling towels of paper towels, absorbing his bleed, etc. And when I saw that, I had, as always, a sample Renew 28 sample. That's all I had, one. And I said, okay, let's put this as it is. Let's try not to bring anything in. And to make a long story short, I put all over the last little phalange here. And it took 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, the bleed stops. He couldn't believe it. He said, what is that? He doesn't know. Yeah. And I gave him the sample and I say, you keep watching, and as long as it is bleeding and you have the pen rising, because in the same time, the pen went down. So he stopped bleeding and the pen went down. He said, wow, never experienced that. And I said, if one of those or both together are rising, you just put exactly, you do the same. And he stayed until 11 p.m. That was the duration of the event, 11 p.m., doing his stuff as nothing would have happened. And there were a few witnesses in our team, and they still wonder what it is. So you bet that I have organized a session for them to share the news.
Bravo.
But just to sharing again this type of thing. So anything, an animal bleeding is as well as controllable as it is this little example I gave yesterday, about yesterday. Yeah, it's amazing.
It is. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. Out of respect for everyone's schedule, it is with really a broken heart today, deeply broken heart. I need some Renew 28 here to survive my decision to put a close to this wonderful session. It was absolutely fantastic. You are welcome anytime. If you have anything, you keep us posted, and you are permanently invited and guest in our team meeting, which is weekly at that time, 1:30 Mountain Time, here on our Zoom. Okay.
Thank you. For
God
the
bless. And thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for the quality of your